He's the anti-Scherzer, by the way, in terms of bullpen sessions.
Yeah.
The less of the uniform he can wear, the better.
Listen, if you had his
and
arms,
he's
you'd
been
wear a
working
shirt like
out.
that,
We know
too.
that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if I was jacked like that, I'd never put on a shirt. Just how it goes. What better way to go to Scott Braun? Also jacked. And also in Philadelphia. Scotty, I know it's hot out there, so in addition to the weather and the heat, set the scene for us at Citizens Bank.
Yeah, that was a layup for you, Matty V. The scene, I couldn't resist. Also, got the home workout equipment, so I've been working hard for you. But 97 degrees here in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Ballpark. And I mentioned at the top of the show that a lot of the talk is about the players that are not here. We've shown, like Ronnie mentioned, Jake Arrieta, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, all in the ballpark going through workouts. But there are 4 key components of this roster that were just placed on the injured list. Starting second baseman Scott Kingery, the closer Hector Neris, setup man Tommy Hunter, and 5th starting pitcher candidate Ranger Suarez. Now, Joe Girardi was asked about their absence yesterday, and he said that he can't disclose any more information. It is important to note that if any player is on the COVID-related injury list, that does not have to be publicized by the player or by the team due to privacy laws. So here are the facts. There was an outbreak in Clearwater, Florida, not long ago at Phillies camp. So there are some players that are recovering, even though we didn't get the details of who those players are. But again, you can be on that list for a variety of reasons. That could be because you tested positive for the virus. It also could be because you have symptoms related to the virus or you came in contact with someone who tested positive. So for now, the Phillies are missing players, and Joe Girardi said he does not have a timetable for when players will return. He also did say as far as injuries are concerned, there are no new injuries for the team, but there are definitely some kind of gray areas when it comes to figuring out why players are missing, and that's just going to be a part of the scene here.
That's good news that they're injury-free, because injuries, as we know, devastated this club last year. Hey, I want to talk to you about one particular position here, Scott, and that's at catcher, where, innings limits for guys behind the plate, workhorse players like JT Realmuto are pretty real. But in a 60-game season, I'm wondering if there's been any plans announced regarding his usage. And also, let's face it, this is a guy with a contract expiration date coming up in the not-too-distant future.
Well, Matty, let's start with the usage. I'm glad you mentioned that, because the Phillies have 3 catchers listed in their player pool, which is among the fewest that we've seen among all of the teams in Major League Baseball. I wonder why. JT plans on playing just about every day, so you don't need as many catchers in the mix as long as you've got a guy like JT who plays just about every day. He's super durable, and he's got something to prove. He's playing for a new contract. There were talks going on throughout the offseason into spring training, and then general manager Matt Klentak said that he had to stop things because there was a transaction freeze for a few months. So now that things can pick up again as far as discussions, they haven't happened yet. And Klentak said there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, primarily, is that they've been so busy as a ball club, as a front office, getting everybody to camp, making sure that everybody's healthy and set to go. So hopefully those talks resume at some point for JT. He looks really good so far working out today. Some line drive, batting practice homers. I watched him work out and take BP about 15 minutes ago. And I think the telltale sign of how badly Philadelphia wants JT to stay here long term comes from Bryce Harper and the jersey that he's been wearing now 2 times this week that says Realmuto on the back of it.
We've noticed that as well. That's been good for our business. Hey, so we know that position for position, the Phillies are stacked. That's a loaded lineup. If there's a question or some concern, it would be around the starting pitching. Despite the high-profile addition of Zach Wheeler in the winter, what are the plans for the starting pitching rotation, especially given the strangeness of the sprint-style schedule?
All right, so let's go over the 4 locks. Like you mentioned, there's Wheeler, the new addition. There's Jake Arrieta, who we talked about before. Zach Eflin is part of that mix. And, of course, the ace of the staff, Aaron Nola. Now, one note about Wheeler, his wife is due with their first child at the end of July. And Matt Klentak said at the moment they don't anticipate an extended absence. So keep in mind your usual protocol with the paternity list. You can take time off up to 3 days. Not sure if there'll be a little more time needed, but he did again reaffirm that he does not expect an extended absence because, of course, when we're talking about an extended absence for anyone, it just has a greater magnitude when it's only a 60-game season. So that's good news as far as the Phillies starting pitching, but the 5th starting spot is still up for grabs. Now, there was a spring training competition going on between Ranger Suarez, who is currently on that injured list like I spoke about earlier, along with Nick Pivetta and Vince Velasquez. So you figure at least those two are going for that spot, and you figure also, given that many pitchers are not going to be going 5, 6, 7 innings to begin the season, that the players that do not get that 5th starting spot will be eligible to be players that are coming out of the bullpen for some extended innings. So maybe even a piggyback scenario. Joe Girardi and Brian Price, veteran manager, veteran pitching coach. They've loved the work of Brian Price so far in spring training 1.0 back a few months ago. But both of them said, like, it's a difficult spring training competition here, or summer camp competition for that spot, because you're not most likely going to get to see them pitch in any games. Maybe one exhibition game. By then it's going to be too late. So Joe said, I'm going to rely on video. I'm going to rely on, hey, being a catcher and a veteran manager and going off some of the coaches that have been here already to make my decision. Those are some of the spring training competitions that are going to go on throughout baseball. Or I keep saying spring training, summer camp competitions that are going to go out throughout baseball, where it's very difficult to make a determination on who should get that job. So a lot of it will be, as Joe said, based off track record.